everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a review of the LauraLee Morphe Brushes collab. So it's the LauraLee's favorite brushes. It's 11 brushes. They come in this little makeup bag. It is super cute. It has like rose gold on the outside, like blush pink, has a satin inside, and then it comes with the 11 brushes. So I'm gonna get her video pulled up on my phone and we're just gonna go into it, and I'm going to use all the brushes she uses for the products she uses, but they probably won't be exactly the same products just because I don't have 4 million subscribers and PR is sending me stuff every month. So yeah, so I did zoom you guys in a little bit so you can see a little bit more of the actual what the brushes are doing. Something I do think was nice was this was a more affordable brush kit. I think it was $54 for the 11 brushes, and you also got the bag. I know Jaclyn Hill also had a brush collection, but it was over $100, and you did get quite a few more brushes, but someone like me, I already have a bunch of brushes. I didn't need like a lot more brushes that I definitely wasn't going to use, or that I already had a couple of, and she also had an extra 15% off code. So I think overall it ended up being about $45, I want to say. So the first brush in here is the Morphe Y6 brush. They're all Morphe, obviously. I'm not going to keep saying that. So this is the brush she uses. If you watch her, she uses this in every video to apply foundation. It is really soft. I have a couple other brushes similar to this that I use for foundation. I have the Morphe 439 brush, which is kind of a similar thing, but the 439 is rounded and also dirty. And the Y6 is really soft, flat top kabuki brush. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and apply some foundation with it. Alright, so now I've got my hair up a little bit. We're going to take the Morphe brush, and in the video she just takes her foundation and squirts it on here. This is the LauraLee Perfection in shade PR4. Oh, this is going to be really dark. Just kidding. I'm going to not use this foundation. I'm going to take the Makeup Forever Ultra HD foundation and just put like a few small pumps on here because that's what she does. Personally, I don't like this. I don't like applying foundation straight to the brush, but we'll go ahead and see. Okay, so it did apply pretty good coverage. I'm just gonna go in with a little bit extra right around here. So I do think that blended out my foundation really nicely. I don't have any streaks or anything like that. It did provide a pretty full coverage look. This isn't a full coverage foundation, so I can't like super judge it on that, but I do like it. I think it looks really nice. It was a really soft brush, so this one is a hit for me. I wouldn't have picked this up otherwise because I do have like other brushes kind of similar, but I do really like this one and I'm glad she included it. Okay, so the next brush in this collection is the M536 brush, and this is the one that she specifically created with Morphe that like didn't exist before. The rest of these you can buy separately. You might be able to buy this one separately now as well, but you couldn't before this brush collection came out. So this is like a mini kabuki brush. She designed it to buff out concealer, specifically like under the eye area, since it's smaller and will fit, whereas this one might like tug a little bit more. So that's what we're gonna go ahead and do. So let me find a concealer. Okay, so this is the Maybelline Age Rewind concealer, and this is in the shade Fair. This might be a little light, but that's okay. Okay, so now that we have the concealer on, I've highlighted the face, under the eyes. Let's go ahead and just buff this out. What surprises me a little bit is this is still kind of like a larger brush. Like, you can see, like, it's like fitting, it fits under my eye, but it takes up like the entire space. And I have a much bigger head than Laura does. So it surprises me that, like, she would design a brush this big for concealer when she has a much smaller face. Alright, so this one did blend out my concealer really nicely. There's no streaks, there isn't like patchiness. The only thing is I don't feel like I was able to get into the creases under my eye as well as I could have with a beauty blender, which is what I prefer to use my concealer with. And although this brush is really soft, occasionally I would still end up poking myself with the bristles. So I like it, but I don't really like it for under the eye, if that makes sense. So if I had to like buff out concealer around my nose or under my chin or forehead, like this would be really nice. I can also see it to buff out like cream contour products or something like that. Or even just do like foundation if you want like a really precise foundation application. But I'm not a big fan of this for under the eyes. But it is a nice brush. It was an interesting idea, especially since one doesn't exist, at least from Morphe. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on. Okay, so the next brush in here is the Y11. And this is just kind of a powder brush. It is similar shapes to this one, but this one is dense and as a kabuki, and this one is a much flimsier powder brush. So let's find a powder. So I'm going to be using the Kat Von D Lock-It translucent powder, and I'm just going to set my face with it. Something that is a little annoying is there isn't like a giant powder brush. Like, I like something like this, which is the E41, also from Morphe, to set the rest of my face. Like, I like something smaller to do under eye and in my fine line area, so I can really like pack that powder in. But I like, for my cheeks or something, I like something a lot bigger. But there isn't a brush like that in this collection, which means I will not be using one. So, I mean, yeah, you can just kind of, like, run it over your face like this, and that works fine. Obviously, the bigger brush does it a lot faster. And, like, sometimes speed isn't everything, but, like, when I'm just setting my face, I usually would rather it go faster. Okay, so my face is all set. I do like this brush, especially for under the eye. It is super soft, and it fits right under there really easily. And even like in my nose, I always set down here, my smile lines, and around my nose, because I really, my foundation tends to rub off there, and also on my chin. But then I would use a bigger brush like this, powdering the rest of my face for setting it. But this is really nice for under the eye area, or if you have a smaller face or want a more precision powder application, this would be really great. You could even use this to contour or something else, but and I probably will at some point, but today I'm going to use the brushes the way that she uses them, just to kind of get an idea of what she created the brushes for. But you can use brushes for whatever you want and however you think they'll work best for you. Okay, so the next brush in here is the R14 right here. So it's from the Rose Gold collection, and it's not completely round. Like, it definitely is a little bit more tapered. It's kind of like a, I don't even know what shape that would be. It's like closer to a rectangle shape than a circle shape, if that makes any sense. Like, if you look at, I don't know if you can actually see it, but this is for, she uses it for powder contour. So I've been super in, I created this palette a while ago. It's just, like my own pro shadows from MAC. But I've been really into actually using them lately, which I haven't used a lot of them. So I'm going to go in with the shade Sculpt, which is this one right here. Okay, so as you can see, it's not picking up like a ton of product, which can be a good thing when you're contouring, because if you pick up too much product, it can be a little terrifying. So yeah, let's just go ahead and contour. Okay, so it picks up more product than it seems like it does, because like that's kind of a lot. But it's dispersing the product very nicely. Like, it's like obviously contouring my face, and you can see there's a line, but and it looks a little bit harsher on camera, but in person, like, it's very diffused over that area, which is really nice. I think contour is one of those things that's kind of hard to get right because you want it to be kind of a sharp line, but you also want it to be blended. So it's just kind of one of those strange things. So since this brush isn't that dense, she does also recommend that you can just like pinch it and get the nose. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. So I'm just going to pinch it and dip into that same sculpt shade and hit the nose. Been really into contouring my nose lately. So it works okay. Honestly, I prefer like an eye brush to contour my nose. So like I'll pick up a brush like this. Or something and just go down the tip instead of using a larger brush and pinching it, just because I really feel like I get a much more precise application. And typically at the same time I'll contour my nose when I'm doing like my eyes in that first transition shade, and I'll usually just use bronzer or contour for that first transition shade anyway. So that to me is faster, but it's nice to know that you can utilize a brush like this as well. So this is the R14. I think it was nice. Is it my favorite contour brush in the world? I don't think so. I think I have ones I might like a little bit more, but it does both. It's kind of the best of both worlds brush. So it provides you a really tight application, but also diffuses it out. Whereas most brushes, you either get like the kind of super rectangle stiff brushes where you can draw a really perfect line, but then you need to go in with kind of a different brush and brush it out. Okay, so she didn't include a real bronzer brush. She only included this brush, the R14, for contour. So I am going to go ahead and just use this one for bronzer as well, because she mentions that it's a good bronzer brush, but some people do use contour and bronzer as different things. So I'm going to take my butter bronzer. I'm trying to hit pan on this, or I'm trying to use this up. I did hit pan, and I'm just going to go in and kind of bronze up the skin a little bit. It's hitting 70 here, and I'm really excited, but that means I want to be tan and bronze and blonde. I'm going back blonde this weekend, so I'm super excited. Okay, so that's that. I actually really like the way this applied regular bronzer as well. Normally I use this IT Cosmetics bronzer brush, the number 114, and it's nice, but as you can see, it's like a huge brush, so it will disperse bronzer everywhere, so it gets the job done really fast. And sometimes I'll just use the side of it to contour, but this one was really nice. So the next product, or the next brush in here, is from the Elite collection. I really like the Elite collection. I have a few brushes from there, and they're all so soft. They're like the expensive Morphe collection, if that makes any sense. But the brushes are really great. I mean, their regular brushes are really great as well, but pretty much the Elite collection is like the best of the best. They are more expensive, obviously. But this is the E4. She uses this one for brush. As you can see, it's like an angled brush. A lot of people might use this for contour, but it actually feels like it will work really nicely for brush. So I'm just going to go ahead and take, again, in this MAC palette, this is the shade Melba. I'm going to go ahead and take this blush and just tap this in there. And just brush it up on the cheeks. I really, really like this blush. It's like the perfect peachy blush, but it's also a little bit nude. I'm not a fan of like super pink or super peachy blushes. So this one is like perfect because it blends in, especially if I'm going to contour. It just blends in with these other shades so, so beautifully. I will definitely continue to use this for blush. I really like how this turned out, actually. So I really like this. I think it's really nice. I will definitely be using it more. Again, since it is angled, a lot of people will also use this for contour. So if you would prefer to like use a different brush than the R14, or you just don't like brushes like this for contour, you can also contour with this brush, and it would be really soft and diffuse product out very well as well. So the next product in here is the R36, and this is what she uses for highlight. So I have one that's very similar to this. So currently I use the M510 brush. This, I mean, it's obviously super beat up, but they're like very similar brushes. Like This is about what this one used to look like. I think this one's just maybe a little fluffier, but they're very similar brushes, so I really like these kinds of brushes for highlight. I'm not a big fan of the fan brushes. I do prefer a brush like this so you can more precisely put the product down. So I'm going to go ahead and apply highlighter with this. I'm going to go ahead and go into Champagne Pop. Haven't used this highlighter in a really long time. Actually, I've been on the Moonstone train, but Moonstone is on the other side of the room, so I'm just going to go ahead and use this one. Oh, such a beautiful highlight. I really love how these highlight brushes apply highlight. This one is really good. And the rose gold handle is like beautiful, obviously. So I'm actually going to take the Casey Holmes Spotlight palette in the shade Pearl and go with the middle shade and go down the nose. And also hit the Cupid's bow. And then I'm just going to take the lightest color and just hit right the top of the cheekbones. Because it's a highlighter kind of day, you know? Any excess up here. Alright, and now that we're nice and highlighted, I do really like this brush. I think it's a good brush. I think that this and the M510 are really great highlighting brushes. I personally would recommend both of them, and or at least a brush similar to that if you have one, if you haven't tried out that kind of highlighter yet. So now we're moving on to eye brushes. Those are all the face brushes. So the first brush in here is the M573. So in her video it looks like this is a very like fluffy blending brush, but this is a little bit more tapered, I would say. Like it's like a normal blending brush, I think. So I'm gonna go into the Tarte Toast Lid palette and go with the shade Sunrise and S'more and mix them together and just kind of go all over the lid, set down any concealer that the powder may have missed, just blend that out. And then I'm also just gonna go in with this shade again, Sculpt, in the MAC palette with that same brush because she also uses it for a transition shade, and just go in my crease as a transition shade. I like doing this a lot. I think it really ties in your look. Also, I did my eyebrows off camera, if you had noticed, during a commercial in her video. So I really like this brush. It's just kind of a normal blender. It's honestly just a normal blending brush. I have so many brushes that are similar. They're all slightly different shapes. This one honestly is a little bit more pointed than some of the other brushes I have. You can like tell the difference between there. This is just a Sephora Pro Crease brush. And I really like it. I mean, I'll definitely use it. You can never have too many blending brushes, in my opinion. So yeah, it seems really good as well. Okay, so the next brush in here is the Morphe R39. So this is a much more tapered blending brush. You can see it's like tapered, it's a little bit smaller, it's shorter, so she uses this to pop some color like more directly right in the crease. So go back into this Tarte lip palette. This is the Tarte Lid Toasted palette, by the way, by Tarte. And I'm going to go in and take the shade Latte, I think. And just place this like right in the crease. A brush like this is really nice because it doesn't explode color everywhere. Like you can apply color like this with a blending brush just to your crease, but typically it makes it like blown out a lot more. And so if you want something that's you want something in the crease that's blended, but you also want it to stay in the crease and not go up to your eyebrow, a brush like this is nice. So as you can see, I've now deepened up the crease a little bit. So I really like this. It got the job done. It was fast. It blended out the color, but also kept it in the places that I wanted it to without too much work. I didn't have to do a ton of circular motion or windshield wipers to like keep the color exactly where I wanted. It mostly was able to do it on its own, which is really great. So this one was nice as well. So the next brush in here, and there kind of had to be one of these for a full eye look, is the M421. So this is a synthetic kind of round tip brush, very similar to the MAC 242. That one's a little bit longer. So this is really great, and she says you can use this for your brow bone, your inner corner, and I think you can. I think it is about the right size. You just kind of have to do them in the right order. So I'm going to first take that Spotlight palette again. So I'm going to take that middle color in the Spotlight palette again and highlight the brow bone. So I like that brush. For that, I wouldn't say it's my favorite. Morphe actually has another brush. I'm trying to think of the name. It was in the Jaclyn Hill collection as well, actually. But it's a lot smaller than this one. It's not flat. It's a little bit rounder, and I think it picks up product and applies it better to the brow bone. I'm also going to do the same thing in the inner corner and just apply just a tiny bit. This is a mini concealer brush technically, so you could use also this to spot conceal, or you could definitely use it with concealer to carve out the inner corner area. So next I am just going to take Candle in this Tarte palette on this brush, and I'm going to go in just on the lid a little bit. So the combination of this shadow plus the brush is not really giving me exactly what I want. It's very sheer. I could wet it, but I honestly don't really, maybe I'll wet it just a little bit. So I'm going to try wetting it with a setting spray and then going into Candle again. Okay, so that worked a little bit better. I will say that the shape, the top of it is perfect for getting the right shape that you want the product, but it's not really picking up that shimmer shade in the way I want it to. So I would probably only use this with concealer to kind of carve out the lid. If I was doing like a really intense eye, obviously today it's not very intense. So I would use a different color to actually pack on the color, like I would use the MAC 242. But this is a perfect shape for at least my eyelid. So I would definitely carve out the eyebrow. So this is probably not my favorite. This is almost like, it only does like one of the things that she says, at least for me. But I'll still use it. It's still okay. Okay, so the next brush in here is the E36. So this is like a kind of longer pencil brush. Like it has like a longer tip to it than like other pencil brushes. I'm trying to find one as an example, but I don't see one. Some of them are like really close to the edge, but this is a little bit longer. So you could use this on your underneath. So I'm going to go ahead and take Latte and just blend out the lower lash line with that. Laura also said she applies her inner corner highlight with this, so I'm going to go ahead and try that again. So I'm going to go back into the Spotlight palette, go in with the shade Pearl, the light one instead of the middle one. Oh yeah, so that's a lot better. I like that one a little bit more. Okay. So you could definitely do some detail work in the crease if you wanted like a really dark color. I think I'm actually going to go ahead and go in with the shade Fireside and just do just a teeny bit in the outer V and blend that out. Just add just a tiny bit more depth to this look. Okay, and I'm also just going to take a little bit more Fireside and just go right along the edges, right on the bottom outer corner of my lower lash line. Just to tie everything together. Okay, so I like how that's a little bit more deep now. It's still pretty neutral, but just a little bit more deep. I think this was a good brush. Definitely, it's really nice for the lower lash line. It's not like pressed, like sometimes you need a brush like this to really just get get right in there against there, but this is really nice if you want to like blow out the lower lash line, or if you have like a little bit more color that you need to do some detail work with, highlighting the inner corner. This kind of brush is really good. Okay, so the next product, the last one, is the 251 brush. So this is a liner brush. I don't actually have any gel liners or like liquid liners that I could use this for. All I have are like pencils or like regular liquid liners that already have something like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this for later. I'm sorry about that, but I did try out all of the other brushes. I'm gonna go ahead and finish my look up real quick, and then I will be back. Alright, so here is my final look. I'm just gonna go ahead and spray it down. I am gonna use the Morphe Prep and Set Continuous Setting Mist. I've never used this before, so let's go ahead and see how it works. Oh, my highlight is literally melted into my skin. Alright, so that was my review of the LauraLee brush collection. The nice thing is you do get some extra room. Why is there an island in here? You do get some extra room in this bag, so the brushes are only to here. You have quite a bit of space, so I could still fit some of the brushes that I take. So I could take this and fit it in here. I could take like some extra blending brushes, because you can never have too many in this brush. I could even fit a sponge in here, and I could zip it all up and take it with me to travel. It's super small. It would fit in my backpack. It would fit in my purse. Like, it would fit pretty much wherever I needed it to. And it's such a pretty color. Like, I love this color, millennial pink, right? And so yeah, I actually am really happy I purchased this. I was a little nervous, but I think it's a really good brush kit. It does continue to sell out quite a bit, but I'm pretty sure they're like continuing to restock it. So if you see it on Morphe, and you need some new brushes, you want to try out some new brushes, I would definitely try this out. These brushes are all really good. I didn't have any problems with mine of like brushes, hairs falling out, or like pieces falling apart. I've never had any experiences like that with Morphe. I'm not affiliated in any way. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I think her LauraLee 15 code did run out though, so you will only be able to get the 10% off. But that's still better than nothing. But yeah, so that is how I feel about this little brush collection. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!